Last month, I came home from work expecting nothing more than a hot shower, a cup of cheap instant ramen, and maybe an early night because my shift had drained me. But instead, I found the lock on my apartment door had been changed. At first, I thought maybe it was a mistake. Maybe the building manager had maintenance done. But then I saw it, the little metal plate with a new name where mine used to be. My name, the name I had worked years to earn on that mailbox, was gone, just gone. I stood there in the hallway, clutching my tote bag, my hands shaking. You ever have one of those moments where your stomach just drops and you know something is wrong? Like really wrong? That was me. I called the manager, thinking maybe I'd get an explanation. And guess what he told me? Your parents sold the unit last week. Paperwork was filed. Payment went through. It's not yours anymore. I swear the hallway tilted. My parents, the people I trusted most. They sold my apartment and I didn't even know. Not gonna lie, I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so insane I couldn't process it. I hung up the phone and just stood there, staring at the door that wasn't mine anymore, wondering how in the world this had become my reality. But to understand why this was even possible, why I should have seen it coming, you need to know the backstory. You see, I'm 27 years old, and this apartment was my everything. I don't mean that in a dramatic way. I mean it literally. I had worked double shifts for years, late nights at a diner, early mornings in a cubicle, saving every single dollar, skipping vacations, skipping dinners out, skipping clothes that weren't secondhand, just to scrape together enough for the down payment. I can still remember the day I signed the papers, my hands shaking as I wrote my name on those documents. It was tiny, barely 500 square feet, one bedroom, cracked tiles in the bathroom, but it was mine. My sanctuary, my freedom, my proof that I wasn't just the spare child. Because you see, my brother Michael has always been the golden one. He's older by 2 years, and from the moment he was born, my parents treated him like he was destined for greatness. Me? I was the helper, the supporter, the one told, "Oh, you'll understand one day." Every Christmas, Michael got the big gifts, gaming consoles, new bikes, a car when he turned 16. I got socks, books from the discount bin, or nothing at all if money was tight. Except money was never tight for him. When I got into college, I worked 2 jobs to cover tuition. When he went, my parents drained their savings for his tuition and living expenses. He needs to focus on his studies, they said. When I moved into my apartment, every nail I hammered, every shelf I put together, every pot of cheap pasta I cooked, it felt like I was building something they couldn't take away. Something that belonged to me and me alone. Or so I thought. Truth is, I should have known better. My parents had always made little comments. "It's nice you have a place, but Michael's wedding will be expensive." Or, "Apartments come and go, but family responsibilities last forever." I brushed it off. I thought they were just being dramatic, like parents are. But those little warnings, they weren't warnings. They were foreshadowing. And I missed it. I missed it because I wanted so badly to believe that just this once, I was safe. That just this once, I wouldn't have to give up everything for him. And yet, here I was, standing in a hallway outside a door I couldn't open, realizing my entire world had been sold off to fund a party I wasn't even invited to plan. My tote bag slipped off my shoulder, hitting the floor with a dull thud, and I pressed my back against the wall. People walked by, glancing at me with polite indifference, but no one stopped. No one could see that my life had just cracked wide open. You know what the cruelest part is? I didn't even find out the truth from my parents. I found out from a stranger on the phone. My parents didn't call, didn't text, didn't leave a note. They just erased me from my own home like I was some line item on a budget they could shuffle around. And here's the kicker. I still didn't know why. At least not then. But I'd find out soon enough. And when I did, it would make me question not just the apartment, but every sacrifice I'd ever made for a family that clearly never thought twice about sacrificing me. The next day, I drove to my parents' house, still half convinced there had to be some kind of mistake. Maybe the building manager got it wrong. Maybe there was a mix-up in the paperwork. But the second I stepped into their living room, the truth hit me like a slap. Wedding magazines were scattered across the coffee table. A thick binder labeled "Michael and Jessica's Big Day" lay open, and taped to the fridge was an invoice from a luxury hotel downtown. $100,000. My stomach churned. My mom walked in wearing an apron dusted with flour, smiling like everything was normal. "Oh, honey, you're just in time. We were going to tell you tonight." My dad followed, carrying a folder, his expression flat, rehearsed. I pointed at the binder, my voice trembling. "You sold my apartment. For this?" They didn't even flinch. My mom set the apron aside and sighed as if I was being dramatic. "Sweetheart, you're overreacting. This is for your brother's future. A wedding is once in a lifetime. Apartments, you'll get another." My knees nearly gave out. Another? Do you have any idea what I went through just to buy that place? Every double shift, every dollar I saved, every night I cried myself to sleep because I was so exhausted. Do you even care? My dad's tone was stern, almost scolding. "Don't talk like that. You're making it sound like we did something cruel. We made a family decision. Michael deserves a proper wedding, and as his sister, you should be proud to contribute." Contribute. That word burned. Like I hadn't already contributed enough, like my years of being overlooked, of being the afterthought, somehow weren't payment enough. And then Michael himself walked in, tuxedo fitting still pinned, grinning ear to ear. "Hey sis, thanks for stepping up. Jess and I really appreciate it." He clapped me on the shoulder as if I had volunteered, as if this was my gift to him. I yanked my arm away, my voice breaking. "I didn't step up. You stole from me." He frowned, his smile cracking. "Don't be so harsh. It's not like you were using that apartment for anything important. You're not married. You don't have kids. You'll bounce back." Those words, those dismissive, cutting words. I felt like I was falling down an elevator shaft. My whole life, I had been the one who bounced back, the one who absorbed the blow so Michael could shine. And now, even my home, my safe place, was just fuel for his spotlight. My mom rubbed Michael's back like he was the victim. "Ignore her, honey. She's emotional. She'll calm down once she sees how beautiful the wedding is." I laughed, sharp and bitter. "Beautiful? You think chandeliers and champagne erase what you did to me? You sold the only thing I ever built on my own. And you didn't even have the decency to tell me." My dad's eyes narrowed. "Enough! You will not ruin this for your brother. He's worked hard too, and he deserves this celebration. If you care about this family, you'll support him." My mouth went dry. I looked at their faces, faces I thought loved me, and saw strangers. Saw people who had chosen their golden child again, no matter the cost. I stumbled out of the house, my chest heaving, tears blurring the streetlights as I drove. That night, I lay awake on a friend's couch because I had nowhere else to go, replaying their words. "You'll get another apartment. You'll bounce back. Family decision." And somewhere in that endless loop, the rage began to settle into resolve. They thought I was weak, that I'd roll over like always, but they didn't know the full story. They didn't know I had receipts, paperwork, proof. They didn't know I was about to fight back. The wedding day came faster than I expected, though maybe that's because I was counting down every second with dread instead of excitement. I wasn't even sure I would go, but part of me wanted to see it with my own eyes, to see what my apartment, my blood and sweat had been traded for. So I went. The venue was a grand hotel downtown, the kind with marble floors polished like mirrors and chandeliers dripping with crystals. Outside, valet drivers in crisp uniforms lined up to take the guests' cars, while staff in black suits carried trays of champagne flutes. I walked through the entrance in a simple black dress, feeling like an outsider crashing a world that wasn't meant for me. Everywhere I looked, money sparkled. Towering flower arrangements filled the lobby, imported roses with petals so perfect they looked fake. A live string quartet played softly in the corner. The smell of gourmet food wafted through the air, filet mignon, lobster tails, dishes I couldn't even pronounce. I heard whispers from relatives as I passed, their words slicing me open. I heard Michael's wedding cost over $100,000. Jessica's dress is custom, straight from Italy. It's like a royal wedding. My stomach turned. $100,000. That was my apartment. That was my home. I pressed on, heels clicking against the marble, until I reached the ballroom. And there they were. Michael stood at the altar in a tailored tuxedo, grinning like he was king of the world. Jessica glowed in a gown so extravagant it could have paid for a year of my mortgage. My parents sat in the front row beaming, their faces lit with pride. Pride bought with my sacrifice. I took a seat in the back, my fists clenched in my lap, trying to breathe through the fury boiling inside me. When the ceremony ended and the reception began, the true spectacle unfolded. Waiters carried trays of caviar and champagne. Guests laughed under chandeliers that cost more than my entire year's salary. A live band played while a 12-tier cake taller than me was rolled out, covered in gold leaf and sugar flowers. My relatives snapped photos, their voices giddy with admiration. "This is the most beautiful wedding I've ever seen. Michael and Jessica really deserve this. Their parents must be so proud." I wanted to scream. Deserve? Proud? No one knew the cost. No one knew they had stolen my apartment to make this dream possible. But as the night went on, I realized silence was no longer an option. When it came time for toasts, I watched as my father stood tall with his glass, his voice booming. "Tonight, we celebrate Michael and Jessica, who remind us all of what true love and family mean. We are so honored to give them this day." Applause filled the room, the sound ringing in my ears. And then something in me snapped. I rose to my feet, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. Heads turned. My voice trembled at first, but it carried. "Honored? Proud? Do you want to tell everyone how you paid for this wedding? Or should I?" A hush fell over the ballroom. My mother's smile froze, my father's jaw tightened, and Michael's eyes narrowed like daggers. I felt my pulse racing, but the words tumbled out anyway. "This entire wedding, every flower, every chandelier, every bite of food, was bought with the money from my apartment. The apartment they sold behind my back. My home gone so this could happen." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Relatives exchanged confused glances. Jessica's face went pale. Michael tried to laugh it off. "She's exaggerating. Don't listen to her. She's just jealous." I turned to him, my voice sharp. "Jealous? I worked for years to buy that apartment. I bled for it, and you took it from me without a second thought." "That's not jealousy, Michael. That's theft," my father barked. "Enough. Sit down before you embarrass yourself." But I stood taller. Embarrass myself? No. The only embarrassment here is parents who would rob their own daughter to spoil their son. The only embarrassment is this circus built on lies. Murmurs spread through the room. People were whispering, recording on their phones, eyes darting between me and my parents. Michael's smug mask cracked for the first time, sweat beading on his forehead. My mom hissed, "Stop this now. You'll ruin everything." I met her eyes and said, "Good. It deserves to be ruined." And for the first time, I saw it. The flicker of doubt in their faces, the cracks in their perfect facade. I knew then this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The room was spinning with whispers and the clinking of glasses being set down. I stood there shaking, but not from fear. This time it was anger that carried me. Michael tried to laugh again, that same smug laugh he'd always used to get out of trouble. "She's overreacting, guys. She's always been dramatic. My parents helped with the wedding, sure, but—" I cut him off, my voice slicing through the murmurs. "Helped? They sold my apartment. Without my consent. Without even telling me. Do you want me to pull out the paperwork? Because I have it." My dad's face flushed crimson. He stormed toward me, voice low and threatening. "You sit down right now, Claire. You don't know what you're talking about." But just then, a voice came from the back of the room. Calm. Firm. Actually, she knows exactly what she's talking about. Heads turned. And there he was, Mr. Daniels, the lawyer I had hired when the first cracks appeared, the one who told me to keep every receipt, every document, every email. He stepped forward, his presence steady like an anchor in the chaos. He held up a folder. "I represent Claire, and I can confirm that her apartment was indeed sold without her knowledge. Documents were altered to make it appear she had consented, but those signatures—" He paused, letting the words hang. "Were forged." A collective gasp filled the ballroom. Jessica's family looked horrified, whispering urgently. Michael's face drained of color, his mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. My mom jumped to her feet. "That's ridiculous. We would never—" Mr. Daniels raised a hand. "Save it. We've already submitted evidence to the court. Forgery is a serious crime. Property theft, even more so. Claire has every right to press charges, and given what I've seen, she'll win." The crowd erupted. Some relatives shook their heads in disbelief. Others pulled out their phones, no doubt texting gossip to whoever wasn't there. Michael stumbled forward, trying to recover. "This isn't what it looks like. Jess, baby, don't listen to this." Jessica stepped back, her eyes wide with disgust. You stole from your own sister to pay for this wedding? Michael, how could you? He reached for her, but she pulled away, her diamond bracelet catching the light. Guests were standing now, their eyes fixed on the implosion of what was supposed to be the perfect evening. My father tried to salvage control, his voice booming. Everyone calm down. This is just a misunderstanding, family business, nothing to see here. But no one was buying it. I stepped closer, my voice steady, clear. It's not a misunderstanding. It's a pattern. All my life you've put Michael first. You drained savings for him, gave him the best, ignored me, and when I finally built something of my own, you took it. And now everyone knows. My mom's eyes darted around the room, desperate, pleading with relatives who looked away. Michael's fists clenched at his sides, but he couldn't meet my gaze. For once, he had no words. Mr. Daniels placed the folder on a nearby table. I suggest you consider your next steps carefully. The law is not on your side. My heart pounded in my chest, adrenaline surging, but beneath it all was something else, relief. After years of being dismissed, overlooked, betrayed, the truth was finally in the open. No more secrets, no more lies, my father muttered under his breath. You've ruined this family. I looked at him, my voice soft but firm. No, you ruined it the moment you decided one child's dream was worth more than the other's life. Silence hung heavy in the air. The band had stopped playing, the waiters stood frozen, even the chandeliers seemed to glare down at the wreckage. And in that silence, I realized something. I didn't need their approval anymore. I didn't need their love twisted with conditions. I had the truth, and that was enough. After the chaos of that night, I walked out of the ballroom with my head held higher than it had been in years. People whispered, some avoided my eyes, others gave me nods of quiet support, but I didn't care. For once, I wasn't the background character in my own family drama. I was the one who finally drew the line. The following week was a blur of phone calls, paperwork, and tense silences. Mr. Daniels filed the claim, and the evidence was so airtight that even my parents' bluster couldn't shake it. The forged signatures, the bank transfers, the emails, every piece stacked up against them. And when the case hit the courtroom, the judge didn't waste time. Property sold without consent, forged documents, funds misappropriated, he read, shaking his head. His gavel came down, and just like that, the ruling was clear, restitution. My parents were ordered to pay me back every cent from the sale, plus damages. Michael sat in the back, pale and shaking, Jessica nowhere to be seen. Their $100,000 fantasy wedding had turned into a legal nightmare. Did I feel triumphant? In a way, but mostly I felt tired. Tired of years of being the sacrifice, the afterthought, the one expected to give up everything for family. When the ruling was announced, my mom cried. Not out of remorse, but because the world finally saw through her perfect facade. My dad stormed out, muttering curses about betrayal. Michael avoided me entirely, his shoulders hunched like a man carrying the weight of his own downfall. I didn't chase any of them. I just walked out of that courtroom into the sunlight, clutching the papers that proved I was finally free. With the settlement money, I didn't rush to buy another place. I took my time. I stayed with a friend for a while, cooked in her tiny kitchen, laughed with her kids, learned what it felt like to live without walking on eggshells. For the first time, I wasn't saving every penny just to survive. I was breathing. Eventually, I found a small loft in the city. Not as big as my first apartment, not as polished, but it was mine. I painted the walls a soft blue, strung fairy lights across the ceiling, bought furniture piece by piece instead of second-hand all at once. Every item felt like a victory, a declaration. I did this for me. And you know what? I never gave them a key. My parents tried calling. At first, it was angry voicemails. You'll regret this. You've torn the family apart. Then it shifted to guilt trips. We're your parents. We did what we had to do. Finally, silence. And that silence? It was golden. It was the peace I had been craving my whole life. Sometimes late at night, I'd sit by the window with a cup of tea and let the city lights wash over me. I'd think about how close I had come to losing myself completely, how easily they had erased me with the stroke of a pen. And I'd remind myself that boundaries aren't betrayal. Boundaries are survival. People always ask if I miss them, if I regret taking them to court. The truth? I miss the idea of family I never really had. I miss believing that love was unconditional, that parents protect you no matter what. But I don't miss the reality, the manipulation, the favoritism, the constant sacrifices. I don't regret choosing myself, not for a second. Because here's the thing. You can rebuild money, you can rebuild a home, but you can't rebuild your dignity once you've handed it away. I wasn't willing to give them mine, so I fought back, and I won. And now, I'll leave you with this. What would you do if the people you trusted most stole the very roof over your head? Would you stay silent for the sake of family? Or would you stand up like I did, even if it meant standing alone? Because trust me, standing alone with your freedom is still better than standing with family who would sell you out for chandeliers and champagne.